What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about holographic sights versus red dot sights. So you'll notice I'm running a holographic on this. This is my friend's gun. He's running a red dot. I'm going to start this off by saying I really don't have a personal preference. It depends on the setup. Like, I can't tell you I like this better than that. The point in these sights is to get up a little bit faster. You can shoot with two eyes open. You should always shoot with two eyes open, but it gives you a lot easier way to shoot with two eyes open. The differences are the technologies. We're going to cover a lot more of the differences as well. But basically, a red dot is reflecting that image back to your eye, and the holographic is projecting the image onto whatever you're looking at. We'll say looking through a holographic is definitely a little bit cooler because it is projecting that image. Also, a benefit that gives you is if you were to smash the front glass of a holographic out, you could still use it. If it gets all like dirty, gunked up, whatever, you can still use it. A red dot, if you smash that front glass out, it's game over. You just have to get a new one. Thankfully, SIG has lifetime warranties on glass, so you could get that fixed there. But that's one thing. Another kind of downfall to the red dot is, at least, so I have a red dot on my P365 here, and if it's dark and it's the Shake Awake, that's the Romeo 0, so the Shake Awake, same with this has Shake Awake on it as well, the Romeo 5. But if it's on and it's in a dark room, you can kind of notice the red of it. Like, you can notice just the light that it's using, that LED light to project it back onto your eye. You can see that. And, if you're trying to be stealthy or whatever, that's a bit of a problem. I don't think that's a problem that people are really going to care about, but just something to mention, because a holographic sight, you will not see anything unless you're looking through it. It's on right now, and you can't even tell from this side. So the glass on the red dot too is a little bit more reflective than the holographic sight. These are not reflective at all. EOTech actually markets that pretty often. Something I will say that's kind of a downfall to the holographic, though, is the weight of it and the battery life of it. So a little bit heavier, and the battery life is much worse. These are using those like Surefire. I forget what they're called. The little Surefire batteries, and these are using like the CR. I think this takes a CR 2032 or something like that. So LED, you got up to about 50,000 hours on most red dots. And the holographics, I think you have up to like 1,000 hours. Granted, that's not really, I don't really think anybody's using this thing for 1,000 hours straight. Maybe if you're in the military, you're going on some ops, whatever it may be. But that shouldn't be a huge factor, in my opinion at least. The weight could be a little bit of a factor. But as you'll notice, my setup on this is a holographic with a magnifier. This is a 4x magnifier. So anytime I use a magnifier, I want a holographic. And the reasoning for that is because the holographic has a 1 MOA dot in the middle. Red dots can't go less than a 2 MOA. So as you magnify a red dot, this is a 4x magnifier on a 2 MOA dot. It becomes an 8 MOA dot. It's a little more blurry. It's not as crisp. And you're just increasing that dot size as you look down the sight. And it just doesn't look as good. EOTech, especially 1 MOA dot, put a 4x magnifier on it, still a 1 MOA dot, and it looks really crisp with a magnifier on. It actually looks more crisp with the magnifier on than off. Just something I've noticed. Let's see, what else is there to consider? So parallax, I don't know if you know what that is. That's basically if you're looking at the sight and you're not centered on it. I've watched quite a few different videos on this. I've kind of tried it for myself. I personally feel like a holographic has a little bit more give to the parallax than the red dots do. Meaning, I feel like you have to be more centered on the red dot and better aligned to get a good shot with a red dot than you do with a holographic. Could just be me being crazy because I have not put this dot on this gun and shot, and this is the gun I'm used to shooting. So it could just be me, but I personally feel like a holographic sight is a little bit better with the parallax of it. If you're not as centered on the sight, you're not perfectly lined up. If you're just trying to come up, if you see that sight, that should be where your bullet or your projectile is going. If you look at the red dot, I think you need to have it a little bit more lined up to ensure that's where your projectile is going to go. Again, those are pretty minor differences though, right? Like, you're not, you're shooting in weird spots, especially if you're in like a battle situation, a combat situation, whatever it may be. You could be in an odd spot, so the EOTech could be a little bit in your favor in that instance, but it's not enough to really make a big fuss about it. The other thing to mention though is the price. Holographic sights are much more expensive than red dots for the most part. I mean, you can get like a $400 aim point. However, these EOTechs are anywhere from $600 to almost $800. You know, and then if you want to get the magnifier combo, even if you're using a magnifier red dot, it's just extra money. But the EOTech is definitely, I think, worth the money. The red dots are worth the money as well. They're both extremely durable. They've withstood many tests. You know, the only difference in durability is the front glass on the EOTech can be shattered and still work. Front glass on a red dot, you shatter it, you're not going to be able to use it. Something else I want to mention too is the reticles. So a lot of people assume that a red dot is a holographic a lot of times because of how the reticle looks. You can have a red dot sight that has, say, a 65 or 68 MOA ring with a 2 MOA dot in the middle. That is still a red dot sight. It's all about the technology that they use and how it's projected. Like I said, the holographic sights are projected onto the image. The red dots are reflected back into your eye. So just because you see that dot with the hash marks and then a dot in the middle of that big circle does not make it a holographic sight. I've had a lot of people pick up a red dot and say, oh, look at this. This is cool holographic. Well, that's not really a holographic. This is how it works, and then people get confused. So just a little bit of intellectual thinking on that one. What else here? So there's not really too much else to talk about with these. You know, the parallax, the weight differences, the 1 MOA versus the 2 to 3 MOA dot in the middle. I will say EOTech has made a pretty cool, so their 68 MOA ring around the outside can also be used for range finding. So if you're at 100 yards, the average person, and I believe they used 5'8" or 5'9" as the average height, but basically if you were looking at someone who's 5'8" or 5'9" through this reticle at 100 yards, their head and feet should be at the top and bottom of that 68 MOA circle. If you're at 200 yards, their head should be on the dot and their feet should be on the bottom of that 65 MOA circle. So their head would be on that 1 MOA dot in the middle, feet would be on the bottom of that 68 MOA circle. If you're at 300 yards, they'll be about 2/3 of the way up to that 1 MOA dot in the middle. And if you're at 400 yards, they'll be about halfway up to that 1 MOA dot in the middle. So I think that's pretty cool that they incorporated that into the technology, into the way they made their holographics. Now, granted, if you have a 65 MOA ring on a red dot, I don't know how different it would be. Obviously, EOTech did a lot of calculations and decided to make it 68. I don't know if all of them are 68. I know this one is. I think this is the XPS2. Well, I bought it like 5 years ago, so it's a little bit older. But when I bought it, that was one of the things that I was looking at in the marketing of that. And I thought that was pretty cool. Just a little range finding option for you, especially when you have a magnifier on it. You can go out to those distances. To a red dot, you know, if you just have that one dot, it's going to be kind of hard to hit those distances that far. Granted, they do have the MOA circles sometimes too, but remember, as you magnify that, it's not going to look as good. So, you know, it really comes down to personal preference and how you're setting it up. Like I said, I have a SIG Rattler as well, and this is the exact sight that I have on my Rattler, just a Romeo 5 from SIG, and it's light, it's small, it's compact, it comes up quick, I'm on target, you know. Putting an EOTech on there, yeah, maybe you get a little bit better field of view. However, you use 2 eyes open, you really don't even notice the sight there anyways. At least I don't. You can cover the glass on either of these, though, and be able to see. I was doing it before this video to make sure. If you put your fingers over it like that and then put your fingers over it like that, if you shoot with 2 eyes open, you're still going to be able to see everything that you need to see. So that's a holographic versus a red dot. Like I said, I don't really have a preference. It just kind of depends what you're going to do with it. Like I said, if I'm magnifying it, I like the holographic. If I'm using like a home defense weapon where I'm not really going out too far in distances, 300 blackout gun, for example, red dot is what I choose to run. So let me know what you think, what you like better, and why. I am kind of curious to hear some more opinions on that. I watch a lot of videos on this, and it seems like everybody doesn't really have a personal favorite. If anything, I would say people lean more towards the holographics a little bit. But let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.